Good evening. Stand and deliver. Well, we got some news for you tonight. Unbelievable. We've caught them again. Child Maintenance Service, Government Department. The pants down, showing their ass. Stand and deliver. Your money is mine. And your conscience is mine. Oh, we've got you. We want your money. Child Support Maintenance Services are at it again. But this time, I've just thought I'd bring Craigie on, and then we'll bring on an individual who's really been smacked by the CMS and flaunted the powers they have. That's what one says. So let's bring Craigie boy on. Let's see what name he's using today, is it? Bully beef, cake and chips. How are you, son?
Good evening, sir. Bloody marvellous.
How are you good, sir? Are you good?
Splendid, sir. Splendid. Absolutely radiant.
Well, technical problems on last night's podcast. I'm trying to sort them out. We might have to go again.
I think we probably would be better thing to do if we do that again.
Yeah, but right tonight, stand and deliver your money
or your life,
and your money. What does it stand and deliver? Give me
your life.
Or your life. And the way the CMS work, I tell you what, mate, they are the highway robbery, man. But they're doing it they do it just openly.
Because they're not accountable. There's no accountability. Government will hold them to account, and there's no transparency.
Well, look at the safety bill they're putting in now, not a protest. I tell you what, but we have got a dictatorship that our grandfathers and grandmothers fought against. We've actually got it in our own back garden.
Yeah.
So tonight, Craigie, we're going to talk about. We've invited somebody along, and I know he'll be along soon. But should we have a little bit of a read? Or go on. Should we get it out?
We shall get it out there, baby. Get it out.
And everybody goes on about the CMS. All right, children suffer, but this is a cracker, Craig. I've got to give it to you, but I don't know where you find some of them from. But here we go. I'm going to bring it up. All right, and I might as well read it, didn't I?
You might as well, little bean.
It's a GoFundMe page. Woo! Hammond. That's not Hammond, is it? The one from top that No. All right. So Hammond,
Secretary of State Worker Pensions.
Okay, Hammond versus the Secretary of State Works and Pensions. So this is a court case then, is it? GoFundMe. Right. So it's a GoFundMe page. All right. Please donate a small amount to help contribute towards my legal fees against injustice caused by government. Secretary of State for Works and Pensions. Who is she again?
That's Therese Coffey.
Therese Coffey.
Therese Coffey. She's a nasty piece of woman. And then we've also got Baroness Stedman Scott and Olin Sugden.
Let's read this out then, shall we?
Indeed. You have to check on it.
Yeah, the Child Maintenance Service have recently seized, 19,269 pound and 9 pence. All right, from my bank account just after I sold my home. The CMS claims that the majority of the alleged arrears were from 1999 to 2002. I thought they'd written them off, Craig.
Well, they're supposed to be, but what they're doing now is they're just giving people willy-nilly arrears because they say that CSA have closed down and the CSA left these arrears and now they're trying to collect them.
So I have substantial evidence which includes 3 original letters of my closure from 2002 and 3 recently recorded conversations with the CSA and CMS stated that it is not a genuine debt and that I don't owe the money stated. Despite my submitted evidence and help from my solicitor, other departments in the CMS have carried on regardless and take my money. Mate, that is a lot of money to take out of somebody's account, isn't it?
It's blatant fraud, mate. Blatant fraud.
So we got a 50-year-old. He's coming on, 50 years of age. Two children, aged 29, 26, potentially. Yeah, that's money for his family and his grandchildren. You
Yeah.
know? In November 2019, the CSA were in the process of closing down and deleting all of their records, transferred their old records over to Child Maintenance Service. I was then sent a letter by CMS stating that I owed nearly 20,000 from unpaid arrears dating back to 1999. I can't believe that an organisation could leave a debt for over 20 years and then decide to make a claim when, despite several rights of access requests, the CMS have supplied no evidence whatsoever. See, this is what gets me.
They say you owe the money, but they never prove it. They'll just say, right, well, you owe this money, you owe £20,000, and you're going to pay it. And the thing is, they'll make you pay it, regardless of you not being, regardless of you not even owing the money. They've got the power to go into your bank account and, as you say here, they'll empty the bank account, they'll slap a detachment of earnings order on you and take it regardless. And then you've got to fight them and fight and fight and fight. And like I said, they've been going for years. No law firms will go against them. The police won't touch them, even though it's blatant fraud. And the police say it's a civil matter. No, it's not. It's fraud. Fraud is a criminal offence. And the government know this is going on. The government have given far too many powers, and they're really abusing them.
Well, they got more powers coming in. Craig, they've got more powers coming in because of COVID. And they've slipped them in. Statutory law. They're slipping it in, but and I tell you what, after the weekend, after the demonstrations, our democracy is going because they're passing more bills in. And to be honest with you, within the next bill, they're going to pass a bill of aggravative behaviour. Do you know who's going to get done with that?
Well,
me and you, and any of us who, because we're aggravating
against them.
All right. So I'm going to bring Johnny back in. John's just come in. Look. All right. And then we'll keep this up for a minute. Here we go. Let's bring him in. Actually, we'll put this down and then we'll bring it back, Craig. All right. So let's bring Big John on. All right. So, hey, stand and deliver. Money all your life. I tell you what. John, how are you, son? Oh, we got technical problems going on here. Look, what's going on?
He's on mute.
He's on mute, is he?
Are you on mute, John?
I can't do lip service, boy.
Yeah. Is that any better now?
That's it, but...
Okay. I've pulled the headphones out. For some reason, the headphones were muting the mic.
That's okay, but I couldn't do lip service. I was all over the place then, trying to catch you. I was like, whoa. But how are you, man?
No problem. Yeah, I'm holding up, as they say.
Yeah, John, and mate, we've just been reading through it, and I tell you what, I take a bow to you, because to get a GoFundMe page up and to take on the Secretary of State, I think everybody who's got problems with the CMS should get behind you. It's the same we've done with Ian Briggs. Ian Briggs is looking at doing the same, and it's got to happen because this is
it's larceny. It's bloody larceny. It's exactly what it is.
19 grand, but
yeah, you couldn't write it. I mean, I've got folders and folders here that I've kept over the years. I'm a little bit OCD, just because of the court case initially. I mean, we're going back to 1997 onwards.
Yeah.
So it's quite scary, and it came totally out of the blue. And I went to a tribunal case, which I asked for a reassessment of things back in 2010. So we was disputing, I think, a figure of 2,820. I got another letter on 31st of May 2019 saying it was 2,820. Goes over to the Child Maintenance Service in November of that year, and all of a sudden it just goes straight up to 19,000.
The false account again.
Sorry, say that again, Craig.
The false accounting.
Yeah, absolutely.
The false accounting, yeah.
I'd love to know where some of them. I'd love to know where some of them went and got their accounting and their mathematic qualifications, because
Yeah. I mean, a little bit of luck. It doesn't sound like a bit of luck, but on the 20th, I mean, I've several phone calls, as you'd expect to them. On the 20th of January 2020, I got through to the CSA. So I was trying to do a subject access request.
yeah,
And as you probably know, child maintenance service don't really hold much at all on the old CSA.
no,
So I went back to the CSA, and just a stroke of luck, I spoke to this lady, Amanda, in Barnsley. And she went through it for about 43 minutes. She was an absolute star. And we've now got the recording of it. So there was some quite amazing things that she was saying, because I said, can you put it in writing and things like that? They said, well, no, we're closing down the CSA, and by June 2020, we have to destroy all the records because of the GDPR. So I don't know if any of the people out there that are on the old CSA system, there are no records. So this weekend, I've just received my subject access request. I've got it back. I was really lucky to get 2 recordings that I was after, and but all the original CSA documents they have not got. They're destroyed. So bear that in mind.
That begs the question: where have the arrears come from, and how can they prove that these arrears are actually earned if they don't have evidence of the arrears being earned in the first place? Fraud.
All they've got on the child maintenance service, and again, this is what she told me, is that they struggle to see the old documents. Only certain people actually view the old CSA records, and all they had at the time, they haven't got this anymore, at the time, they just had the notes on the computer system. But she kept saying to me, by June 2020, because of the new data protection regulations, we have to destroy them. And they're gone. They are no more. Now, I had a phone call back from her on the 1st of January, and she made a few phone calls to me. Now, what we're dealing with, where these errors have occurred, was if you're on a really old system like I was, you was on the very first CSCS computer system, so child support computer system. That's what it stood for. Now, she said to me that at the time they had no facility to write off debt, even if it was an error, because the legislation didn't come until 2012. She said we had no way of writing it off. So in my circumstances, she phoned this lady in the Kirkcaldy, Scotland, and she gave me her name. I won't sort of mention it now. I can't get hold of her. It's like these people don't exist anymore. But she gave me her name. She told me what to write down. And she said she was part of the CSCS trans team. So they was the team responsible for transferring from the old computer system and the details that were on there over to the new child maintenance service. So when she phoned her back and she confirmed this with me, she said it was written down as a suspended debt when it should have been written off. So that's what's happened on my circumstances. She then, I mean, on the first phone call, she said something's really strange going on, because I've got 3 letters of closure from my first claim, which closed on, I don't know, September 2002 sometime. She then went through the case, and she said, oh, it gets added on, 16,000 some odd got added on. I'm trying to think of the exact date. I mean, off the top of my head, it was around, I don't know, October 2005. And I said, well, that's strange. My second claim didn't even start until 2 months later. And she said, hold on, money's coming in and it's paying it off. I said, well, I weren't sending money in because I was doing direct pay all through that period and I've got all the receipts for it. So she said that there's something not right here. So that was in the first phone call.
Hang
which
on.
prompted her. So all sorts of, and she actually said to me, and I've got it all on recording, she said it was a bookkeeping exercise. So
I'm just gonna.
it,
I tell you what.
Go on.
I tell you what I just thought about. I wonder if the CSA system was actually, because don't forget, technology computers at that time program. We're struggling with programs now. I wonder if
it was full of flaws. I mean, there's loads of documents online. When you put in CSCS, child support computer system, there was loads of flaws in it. And then I think around about 2012, they changed the legislation slightly. Maybe before then, actually, the second system came in, which they call CS2.
yeah.
So CSCS is the first one, CS2. And when I got my subject access request, I got 2 files, which I've got here somewhere.
But the big
Here we
thing
go.
is-
So I don't know if you can see that. I mean, it actually says CSCS computer records, and the other one is CSCS computer records. But the detail on there, it doesn't really go into specifics much. So yeah, it's not great, to be honest. But as far as the go on. Hello.
Clive.
Oh, that's it. We went in and out there. Don't know what happened there.
Yeah, straight.
Uh-oh.
But as you say, that the technology that they told me, and obviously the legislation to write off this debt didn't come in until 2012. Now, this is the weird thing with these reports that I've just got. They all say 2012 on them. Why 2012? We're in 2021. So I've wrote another letter back to them saying thank you very much for the subject access request, but we're missing chunks of information, and I can't believe that they want to go to court on this. So, but again, I'm hearing at the moment that half the time they don't even turn up. So I don't know if that's true or not. But this is one of the reasons why I officially want to use a solicitor, and I'm going for legal expenses on top. That's what I'm hoping to achieve. And then if we get that bit out of the way, I really want to take this stuff. Sorry, say again.
Speak with Dan Milliken. I'll send you his number.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we're doing pretty well at the moment, but who knows how it's going to end up.
Actually, what I'm thinking is early stages. We've struggled. Look how much money we've spent on this track and trace. Can't get that right. You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering, Craig, if the system was flawed where people, because you were saying, John, you weren't paying money in to pay it off. I wonder if anybody else was, I wonder if the computer was actually taking money from some people and putting it into some other people's accounts and stuff like that.
Well, because, you know that Audrey Foy from Katie, she siphoned or embezzled £150,000, and she's put in prison for it, wasn't she? I've just sent you the links. Have a look at that, Clive.
I've just seen it. Have a look.
Have a look at that.
Let's pull that up, shall we?
And also Claire Jones from Plymouth embezzled £7,000, and it's probably still going right now. That's where the money's come from.
Mamu embezzled 150 from child support agency where she worked in Fife, splash cash on week. Oh, there she is. Look. Ooh. Look at the smile on her face. And no wonder she's smiling. 150,000. I'd be smiling. So how long did she...
That's a few nice holidays.
Say again?
That's a few nice holidays at Butlins.
Oh, tell me about it. Look. Pleaded guilty to a charge of embezzlement committed between 2014 to 2016.
Yeah.
21 jail for 21 months, reduced from 30 for a plea of guilty. He said you embarked on a 1 month period in which you carried out systematic fraud. on the CSA, 150,000 has been taken and used for whatever purpose we. So she's bringing it in, putting it into her pocket, and then that's it. You know.
And it's probably still happening now. This is because there's people complaining that they're not getting any money, but the paying parent is actually making payments to the CMS, and they're not passing the money forward. So there's something going on there.
No wonder she got a big smile on her face.
Hey.
Yeah.
Look at the money I got in my back pocket. Hooray! I tell you what, you were paying for that, John.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, let's not beat around the bush, yeah?
Yeah.
Show the ones, Clive. On Gavin's page, show the other two. Show Claire Jones from Plymouth. £7,000. I had to put the screenshot on there because it's the CSA deleted it from Plymouth Road.
I'm trying to.
Go on to Gavin's page.
Let me just. I need to put you on this. You're excited all the time. Hang on now. At least you're not pissed tonight, anyway. That's
a fair one.
Right, dishonest staff embezzled child support agency again. Oh, she looks like the same. She looks like the.
No. That's Claire Jones from Plymouth, and I had to scan that. I printed the page off. Luckily, I did because the CSA actually had that article removed from the Plymouth Herald.
Well, look, we know. Look, the government control the press, but I can tell you that because I've had it firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but look, mate, she looks. Look! Watch now! There's a resemblance there, guys. Both of them smiling.
Well, ripping people off. That money is to be paid to parents. On this one, Michelle Cotter from Plymouth, she fiddled with her partner's case. So you can see there's more of this going on, definitely, without a doubt. Systematic. Excuse me, chaps.
That's the back door.
Pinion Research Services, Swansea. I don't think so.
Turn it off then.
They're on to you.
Yeah.
So, John, we got your case back, but this is, I tell you what, Craig, this is unbelievable. And I want everybody to either read this or listen to what I'm going to say. John originally thought that, he said, I thought my case was a one-off error, but sadly not. It would appear that there are literally tens of thousands similar cases. Shocking statistics from the Consumer Watch Federation state that 74,700 people have killed themselves since 2003 due to errors in justice caused by child maintenance services. And when did you do that, John? When was that? When did you get that figure, John?
Literally over this weekend, so or last week. So I mean, one of the strange things is when you phone the police, the police keep saying it's a civil matter, and I said to him, what does it take for it to become not a civil matter? Do I have to top myself? Do I have to kill someone else? And they're not bothered. I couldn't. Even this weekend, I tried again. I phoned Action Fraud, the police again. I've also been into the police station when they took 19,000 from me. Nothing that I would say to them would convince them that it was a crime. They wouldn't give me a crime number. Refused to. And I actually said I'm going to go out and take 19 grand from someone else then. And they said, yeah, it will be a civil matter, which is incredible.
Craig,
yeah,
I'm looking at this. All right, that's 4,394 people from the Consumer Watch Federation a year are stating are killing themselves because of CMS. So
that was from an FOI of how many people had on the books who had actually taken their lives. it's not actual suicides. That is the amount of people who actually died. So there will be suicides there without a doubt, but some of that will be down to natural causes. Obviously, the stress-related death, like heart attacks, strokes, because of the stress that they cause to people. But it's not all suicides. Okay.
With that said,
Okay.
people have killed themselves. But I understand what you're saying, Craig. But, look, right, disease. What is disease? I'm going to ask you. Disease. What is it?
Dis-ease. It's you're not. That's exactly what it is.
It's the French term, and it was dis-ease on the body. So you had a disease on your body because of the stresses of life. That's what it's caused by. All right. And I tell you what, I'm reading through this. You're already. This is not enough time or space to you. Yeah, you've got a lot of information. We can see that, John. You've spent 10,000 on legal fees in an attempt to claim back your 19,000.
Yeah, and it's going to go. For me, it's now not about the money. I mean, obviously, I want the money back. I'm going to go for the money, and obviously, hopefully, I'll win it with the information that I've got. I've now got these recordings as well, which are pretty unbelievable. One of the guys actually phoned me back from the child maintenance service, and he said the letter that I sent in, he said it's the best evidence letter he's ever seen. And he goes, I've checked it out, and it all tallies up. We've got a transcription of this with the solicitor, and he said, I've checked it out. You don't owe the money. It's not a genuine debt. Simple as that.
So,
and yet, after that conversation, they kept going, and then they ended up taking the money.
And it's just wild, And I don't know what to say. No, it's just, it seems to be, stand and deliver, money all your life, and they control you, and that's it. And I just, just jumped on. He's hijacked, haven't he? So we let.
So I don't know if you can see these here. This is all my letters to the CSA.
Well,
and I've kept pretty much everything. As I say, you couldn't write it, and I'm just surprised that their subject access request. I mean, it's also wasting taxpayers' money, because I've read on this as well that half the time they don't even turn up at court, and I think some of the cases have cost the child maintenance service a similar amount of legal fees, so £8,000 to £10,000. But they're just trying it on, because the average, no disrespect, but most people just roll over and pay it.
Yeah. I tell you what, John, I'm going to bring the third amigo on. I haven't had him on for a while.
Okay.
All right, mate. We'll try it. When he goes off on one, mate, he's like D'Artagnan, mate. His sword comes out, and he takes no prisoners. All right, so we'll try and calm him down. But sometimes he's like a Rottweiler. All right.
Yeah.
He hasn't come in. Look. He's not in. He's removed himself, Craig.
Oh, you're joking?
He's removed himself.
Come on.
Tell D'Artagnan to get on you. So, yeah, hopefully he'll come back in. But, John, I tell you what, I take my hat off to you, mate, because something's got to be done. Child Maintenance Services is a child maintenance group, and it's an independent.
Yep.
They made £40 million profit last year.
Yeah.
40 million. But you look at it. Can I just say something here? They've made 40 million profit, right? But how much does it cost the taxpayer per suicide?
1.7 million.
Oh, yeah.
1.7 million pounds per suicide. And how many suicides per year? 1,000 suicides they cause every year. Over 1,000 suicides.
Right.
So that costs the taxpayer a lot of money.
Craig, be quiet now and sit down, mate. Behave, because we got Noel coming in now. You were bad enough when you start, but here comes the Rottweiler. But he's still not in yet. Where is he? Come on, Noel. Where are you, son? I can see you on the screen. Actually, let's remove that one, and let's see if I can bring you in that way. Where is he, man? I can't get him in for some unknown reason, Craig.
Oh. Is he in the background?
He's in the back. There he is, man! Ray! No, where is he? Yeah. I tell you what.
What's happening, but?
I can't believe you sneaked in. I can't believe you two sneaking in on each other there. That was, weren't it?
What's happening, but?
What's happening, but? What's going on, eh? How are you, bud?
I'm very well. How's you?
Do you know John?
We briefly spoke on social media. Nice to meet you, John. And
and you,
Craig, seriously, brother, the minute that the hairdressers are open, go and get a perm.
Yeah.
No, but it's lovely, isn't it?
Craig, I tell you what.
Guys, just before we get into what's going on, I've just watched Panorama, and everything that me and you have been saying, Clive, is 100% there. It's so blatant as to what is actually going on in this country. And then you got the National Audit Office that are sitting there saying that they've been basically expelled from auditing these accounts and these contracts that have just been given out willy-nilly. I mean, it's absolutely spellbinding what is actually going on behind the scenes, and it's just got to stop.
It's got to stop. And look at John, 19 grand out of his account, mate, and they can't even justify. They can't even give him paperwork. They give him paperwork to say he doesn't own it, but he still took. Got 19,000 in there. We'll have a bit of that. So,
well,
wait.
Like I say, I mean, I briefly read up in your story, John, and I have kind of got eyes on, and I sort of know what's going on, but unfortunately, we're up against this monster, and when you get the mindset that you're dealing with, I mean, I can't even use the word animals, because animals are beautiful. They're beautiful creatures. Animals are beautiful creatures, and you get so much out of animals. This is a monster that is completely and totally out of control. They're not accountable to anybody. They steamroll anything that they want to do. And you cannot, and by seeing this tonight on Panorama, it's actually really scary that the National Audit Office, that is what they do. Yeah. Even the military can't stop the National Audit Office from coming in and auditing them.
Well,
even the military can't stop that. But the National Audit Office cannot, even under the Freedom of Information, they cannot get to the bottom of these government contracts that have been given away willy-nilly. Wow. There has to be an 8-stage process, and it has been revealed tonight that there has to be an 8-stage process of any government contract that's given out when using taxpayers' money. Yet again, being totally steamrolled. And this is...
It's scary, isn't it?
It is scary. And the fact that...
It's out of control. It really is. They're out of control. There's a dictatorship, what we have here.
Gentlemen, do you want to know something?
Go on, mate.
We've caused this ourselves. Do you want to know why?
Go on.
We've removed all European laws being removed as we speak. And now, during COVID, they put all the laws under place. The biggest law bill they're going to be looking at tomorrow, and Panorama might have touched on it, is tomorrow they're going to be looking at the police crime sentencing court bill. And they're looking at coming in and freedom of assembly. Oh, they're looking at putting in actual law, I believe, tomorrow, passing law in the House of Parliament, in the House of Commons. It's not even going through a justice system. It's not going through because of COVID. It's just passing through the MPs, and the MPs tomorrow will be voting on bringing in more powers to stop protests, and anybody who we can't hold the government to account now. You know, John got to take him to court. He's taking the Secretary of State of the UK for the DWP to court. That's what he's trying to campaign for. Freedom to assemble, and the democratic foundations at this moment in time are being ripped apart. We are the new Russia. We are the new sovereign. We the Soviet Union were in the 80s. We got a spy culture where they're spying on us all the time. They dip it into our bank accounts, taking money. And now they're bringing in laws because MPs are unhappy with people. And I said to Craig just now, no, tomorrow I won't be surprised if a law's passed tomorrow where we are harassing them. They'll bring a law in to stop us harassing them on social media.
We're not harassing them, though, Clive. We're not harassing them.
But Craig, we know we're not harassing them. We hold them to account.
Exactly.
But they see it as harassment because
the issue that you've got as well by holding them to account. And I'm not saying for 1 minute that I agree with Piers Morgan. I can't stand the guy, but he was the only person in this country that was attempting to hold these politicians to account when they were sitting there finding what he was saying funny. Yeah. Because people like Oliver Dowden, there was that female, I can't remember her name, and she was the female minister for care homes, and they're actually just sitting there laughing. And when you watch Panorama this evening, the most dangerous thing that the government's got at the moment, which means that they can steamroll anything, is the fact now that they've got the Emergency Powers Act. Yes. And because they've got the Emergency Powers Act, they can literally steamroll anything and do anything. The fact that the National Audit Office cannot audit them, the National Audit Office, and that's going to bring me on to a point with you in a minute, John, is the fact that the National Audit Office cannot audit them. I can't, and the military, Her Majesty's Armed Forces, are audited by the National Audit Office. The military, who are completely separate to anything that goes on in this country, because in hindsight, Her Majesty's Armed Forces belong to the Secretary of State. And it's actually very, very scary times. And the fact that Serco, and we'll call them Serco, have gone into your bank account and taken 20 grand out of your bank account because they see fit, or that it's just because they can do it, and because everybody's on all these backhanders in government, that is the reason why nothing's going to happen, why the police have said to you it's a civil matter. Cressida Dick, the head of the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, is up to her eyeballs in corruption. Hogan Howe, me and Craig have discussed this numerous times. He was the Metropolitan Police Commissioner before Cressida Dick. He has a £10 million, listen to this, a £10 million chalet in the Courchevel in the French Alps. I mean, have I missed 60 minutes here? Have I missed 60 minutes of my life that a police commissioner has, that is Simon Cowell's level of money that we are talking about. Can you comprehend that? A police commissioner, and I've researched it, they're on something like 354,000, which is an astronomical salary to be on. £354,000 a year a police commissioner is on. Astronomical amount of money, but Hogan Howe, can someone work the mathematics out here? Hogan Howe is the police commissioner for 5 years. So how does he afford a chalet in the course? I just can't get my head around it. But nothing's said. No one investigates it because they're all in this corruption together. And we're not a bunch of nutters, John, who sit here, smoking weed, marshmallows on the bonfire, cooking up these conspiracies. This information, we are putting it out there in black and white.
Yeah.
We are dealing with an absolute dragon, a monster, which is the government, yes, but they are giving all of these contracts, Department of Work and Pensions, Child Maintenance Service, even your refuse even is subcontracted now. Clive has brought up numerous times. Local authorities. Why do you think local authorities are going bankrupt? It's all going to be privatised.
It's all coming.
All these big corporations are going to come in and they're going to take over. Serco's press release. I don't know if you followed our social, what we've been doing with YouTube. Serco, not us. We didn't concoct it. Serco made a press release that they had collected over £1 billion in arrears. Well, we know those arrears, that the resident parent doesn't see a penny of that money.
I tell you what I've just read, but yeah, this is an interesting one. What they're voting on tomorrow, all right? They're all about freedom of assembly, expose how we align our laws, all right? And what they, more specifically, Clause 57 tomorrow, expands the protected area around Parliament where particular activities cannot take place. This creates a further hurdle that will restrict rather than facilitate protests. Hoarding of power of the Secretary of State, Clause 54-4 and 55-6, give the Home Secretary untrammeled power to make regulations to define what the phrase serious disruption to activities of an organisation which are carried out on in the vicinity or serious disruption to life of the community mean for the purpose of the Public Order Act. This broad power, the latter phrase is practically vague, could be exercised with little or no parliamentary scrutiny and in a way that would expand scope of powers under the bill once passed. The practice of government giving itself the power to make major policy changes has already been a subject, as we've already said. Clause, this is the one, Craig, criminalising public nuisance. You're a bloody public nuisance, you are, Craig. So, Clause 59 of the bill proposes replacing the common law offence of public nuisance with a new statutory offence, while the clause is more or less mirrors the Law Commission recommendation in 2015, including fault element. It is worrying the breadth is seen. In fact, a broadly defined offence is now subject to a maximum custodial sentence of 10 years. What are they doing? Because it's all coming out in the wash. Everything is coming out.
Stasi, isn't it? This is a Stasi.
And that's what they're doing. They're putting powers in place so they can control. And John said something earlier, which is, Noel, you weren't here. John, what have they done with all the documentation of all the fraudulent claims and all that? Where's all that documentation gone?
Where's all what gone, sorry?
CSA documentation.
Oh, it's all been destroyed. So this came from the CSA. I've now been given this as subject access request as an audio file, and she claimed that as of June 2020, because of the GDPR regulations, all of the old CSA documentation was destroyed. So it's gone. So. But what's strange with this is, as I say, not most people keep every single bit. I'm a little bit OCD like that. I've still got my letters, the original, we've closed your case, 4th of September 2002. I've got 3 letters like that saying the case is closed. it actually says on one of them. It says on one of them that the arrears is £947.42. I've got the check number that I wrote out back in 2002, and yet they still claim that I owed, this 19,000. And even though I've sent them all this documentation, they've still taken it. And yet, one of the bizarre things, they haven't sent me anything from the CSA, no original letters, no calculations, no assessments, nothing. However, on the child maintenance service, what they have told me was that they wrote to every single bank or affiliated bank that I was associated with, and they've done checks on who my relationship was with. What's that all about? What? It's bizarre. Yeah. So again, it's all in here. So they was looking into whether, by taking the 19,000, whether that would cause a hardship to my my third daughter. She's 14. So they was then looking to find out if I was in a relationship, because I was worried about this when they started all this letters. I won't tell you what was actually going through my head at the time, but let's say I was getting rid of stuff. I sold my home, I sold my car. I wanted everything sort of straightforward for people. But they was monitoring what I was doing, and as soon as that money hit my bank account, they was trying to get it, and I didn't know about it. So this is why, I'm on a 0-hour contract. I'm trying to, so I'm not, even though I won't say what I do, but I'm on a 0-hour contract basically. So I can't renegotiate my mortgage or anything like that. So once I got in the clear with all this stuff, I'm not in any big debt or anything like that, but I sold my home. I've lived there since 1985. I lived there with my dad originally, took over the place when my relationship broke down. So that was like 1997. Soon after that, I took that over. So I sold my family home last year, and then I went to work, checked my wages on the Friday, and 19 grand of it was gone. Now, the hardship that caused was I was downsizing. I've got another home that I was trying to do some building work on. Well, they've taken the 19 grand. And just absolutely heartless. It was an interim order, and then they made it a final order.
Sorry, John, did they obtain a liability order? To your knowledge?
They may have done. They didn't inform me as such. But they've probably covered themselves in. They send you a lot of documentation asking you to pay, setting up a standing order. I wasn't ignoring them. I'm not the type of person to ignore this. And the thing is, since 2012, prior to 2012, the £2,000 odd that I was disputing was because prior to that, again, I don't want to bring my ex-partner into it too much,
No.
but certain things had happened where I'd overpaid. She'd kicked my son out of the house, and yet trying to be do the decent thing, I carried on paying because I didn't want it to affect, the income for my daughter that was still there. But that happened 3 times, so I know I've overpaid. So the dispute that I took to a tribunal in 2012 was for this, roughly £2,800, and yet, well, it's really weird. At the time, they then wanted to take into account my wife's income, so this then puts pressure on that relationship. So part of it, that was one of the reasons why that broke down as well, because of the pressure it puts on. And then my first 2 children, they are now, my son's nearly 29, and my daughter's just turned 26. And it's this parent alienation syndrome type thing. Because in their eyes, particularly my daughter's eyes, who's 26, she doesn't think I've paid. And, she just don't believe it. And one of the claims that my ex-partner well, not so much her, but her partner. She won't even sort of talk to me directly, but her partner claims that they haven't received any money since 2007. So if that's the case, where's that money gone?
Where's all
Now
that
that could possibly but that's nothing to do with the 19 grand that they've taken.
But when you look at it, look, Craig, we laugh at that, all right? But I'm going to be serious. It leads. Look, for them people to get caught with their hands in the till, I'm not. They've learned it from somebody else. Within the organisation.
Well, do you know something here, John? What I think that you need to do is thoroughly go through your SAR, your subject access request, because technically speaking, that money we know how the CSA, CMS operate, right? But without that liability order, even though all the magistrates are in on it, because they're all limited companies as well. It's all, all this information is out there. People just don't know because, we're just all zombies. Yeah. The magistrates courts are all limited companies as well. They're all like franchises. So, somebody's getting sorted out in the old kangaroo courts, by CMS. But technically speaking, the one mistake they could have made here is the fact that they have not obtained a liability order, because the liability order legally is supposed to state that money is live, that is a live debt, that liability order. So if they don't have that liability order from a magistrate, you probably will have a leg to stand on legally. But
mind you, the government have actually gave them the powers. The government have given them the powers to go into bank accounts and to set up DOs without any court orders.
But without a liability order,
you understand
that money is not live.
But this is what's happening now. They've just been told that they can empty people's bank accounts without court orders. Without court orders, that's why they've done it.
But don't forget, gents. Since 2020, there has been more law passed through the House of Commons, and even the head of justice has actually gone, this is wrong. There's so much law being passed through during COVID. I'll try and find the figure now while we're on you, but it just goes back.
Where's John gone?
No.
Have we lost him?
He might come back now.
This government is just taking the piss. I mean, they're passing laws because they know they've been rumbled. They know they're acting unlawfully, and now they're protecting themselves by giving themselves power.
Do you know what we need to do? We need to contact everybody now on Panorama. Yeah, we've got to push this through, because one thing that they are reporting on is the fact that limited companies and corporations are being handed these contracts. That is the one thing that they are reporting on. We know that nobody likes to go near the so-called child maintenance service because they've marketed themselves that they're cleaning up child poverty. So we know that. We know that they've completely manipulated the press with this so-called child poverty, but they don't talk about all the hundreds upon thousands of kids that they're tumbling into poverty by emptying father's bank accounts. They'll never come out and say that. But the one thing that they are reporting on at the moment, and I think we've got to reach out to the National Audit Office, because all of these people have egos. They're all in these positions because they have egos. Yeah. And I think if we really start reaching out to the National Audit Office, Panorama, there's also another guy on tomorrow on BBC One. I think he was like from Boyzone or something like that. He's actually investigating men's suicides and why so many men are committing suicide.
Yeah, Brian Harvey.
But I bet he's unaware. That he knows that the vast majority of suicides, male suicides, has had some sort of involvement regarding the CMS or the CSA in these people's lives. Because even if you have had the CSA in your life, people don't realise the blueprint that they leave in your brain. You know, that these people have come into your life and completely turned your life upside down. There's John living a normal life, thinking that he's getting on with life, and the next thing, his whole bank account has been emptied. I mean,
and guess what, John? That money is not going to go to your kids. That 20 grand is going to be in their skyrocket. They're going to keep that. That's not going to be given to your exes. They're going to keep that one.
Of course they are. But we already know, John. We already know that £3.8 billion is uncollectible anyway.
No. Let me explain that. There was £3.8 billion of arrears, okay, of uncollected arrears, so they say. Then it was admitted by the DWP back in 2009, 2011 and 2012 that 75% of these arrears were unenforceable because it was actually created by interim assessments inflated of up to 300%. Now, I don't know if you've read the parliamentary documents I told you to, but it's all there in the oral hearings. And Neil Shanahan, who's a child maintenance enforcement commissioner at the time, he actually stated that most of the arrears were unenforceable because of being inflated up to 3% by interim assessments. And the government have just written off another $2 billion in just after a few days after, I think it was 30th of January, they wrote off $2 billion. So,
I mean, the problem that we've got here, which is exactly what Craig has just, said, is Serco made a press statement saying that they have written off $1 billion. Not that they've written off, that they had collected $1 billion. What did Stedman Scott say? What was that she put out there, that they collected $2 billion?
Yeah, something.
Is that?
Yeah.
Was it $2 billion, Craig?
I can't remember, but they collected. It was the most successful year they've had, and that's during COVID. People weren't working. People people have lost their jobs, and they've collected more money during a national crisis.
Let's go back now. Let's go back now quickly, because me, you, and Noel are going to do one this week. We're going to get on there and stir the pot. But John, versus the Secretary of State of Works and Pensions, mate, 100%. Right, because I'm looking at wrapping this up. I'm telling you, because we're now getting up to an hour. So, but John, we got to come on again, but we got to do this again, because I tell you what, I want all people who are suffering with CMSA to actually come to this page, GoFundMe page. I'm going to put the link on it. And
thank you.
He's not as good looking as me, but he's not a bad looking guy there. He's got a bit of hair. So let's start getting this out there. All right, it's a GoFundMe page, and John's got all the evidence. If you were struggling with CMS and you really want to go for the CMS, there's two ways we can do this. We've got Gavin. Ian, he's trying to get justice for Gavin. So, and Gavin, he committed suicide last year. So we need the justice for Gavin. But, hey, we need justice for John as well. And it's brilliant when you've got all the traceability and the evidence. And John, you say you've got OCD. Mate, good on you, son. Good on you. Because you've got all the information. But what I'm going to say to you now, don't take this the wrong way. Make sure you got that evidence copied and you got it somewhere. But because I tell you what, the way this country works at the moment, you will be on somebody's radar.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
because
Well, it's getting like V for Vendetta, isn't it? The way the government are operating. It's unbelievable. Have you watched V for Vendetta?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like that, isn't it?
Yeah, going back
The
to
only
what you
way-
guys were saying about
The only way that we're going to really get change is if every single person out there wakes up and votes for UK reform.
yeah,
Richard Tice and David Ball.
yeah.
That is the only way that we are going to get change. They are really good guys, real, genuine, nice guys who have genuine policies, and they're not interested in corruption. They just want what's best for the British people.
Let's look at
Hence the reason why they were all MEPs. They were all MEPs, and they done themselves out of a job.
Let's look at that, Noel, and let's look at see if we can bring a couple of them on. All right, because the election's coming up, local elections coming up. So, John, more than anything, yeah, make sure you got that paperwork secure. But I'm telling you now,
it's all backed up. So yeah. So going back to what you guys were saying though about the £3.8 billion deficit. I mean, we all know people that try getting out of paying maintenance. What they're doing is going for the people that they know are good for it. Now, going back to this conversation that I had with the CSA, she said, it is a bookkeeping exercise to balance their books. And what I believe they've done is that they've created these fictitious arrears and given them to people that they know are good for it.
Yeah.
Because when they've passed over, it doesn't make the CSA look so bad. We all know they're bad. But when it passed over to the Child Maintenance Service, you can't pass a business on with a £3.8 billion deficit without actually saying, well, these are the people that owe it. But the truth of the matter is they don't know who owed it and who didn't owe it. And it was a bookkeeping exercise. That on my particular case, that's what they've told me, is that, and they've gone back to 1999. Who in their right mind goes back 20 odd years and says, oh, by the way, you owe me money from 1999 to 2002? And not at any point have they said that I've got any arrears all through that period up until 2019. So November 2019 was the first time I ever knew about that sort of money. It's just horrendous.
It is.
So,
No, what you're just saying there. I'm gonna
access request, and
Clive.
it's redacted right there.
And Clive.
what?
I've just sent you a link there. Can you put that up because it corresponds with his case? Exactly what he's been saying. Exactly what happened to me as well. The early day motion.
Yeah, that's the tabled signatures.
Can you read it out? Read it out. What they say.
That this house deeply deplores the unfair inconsistency long apparent in the operation of child support agency. Notes, for instance, the fathers who have made maintenance arrangements for their former partners are being pursued by the CSA for a much higher payment, far in the excess of their means, while, on the other hand, there are many women who have never received any maintenance payments at all because of the failure of the CSA to pursue their former partners with sufficient vigour. Believes that the CSA is currently concentrating its efforts on soft targets rather than the consistent enforcement of proper maintenance obligation, and urges the government the fairness and effectiveness of the operations of the CSA at the earliest opportunity. And that was signed off. Supporters 99, signatures 103. When was that?
97.
97. So, and it still goes on today, and we are 23 years on, and we're still battling it today. And I tell you what, the reason I've had a little giggle in here today, all right, is I used to work in the Middle East for some very influential people. And I tell you what, offshore banking, oh, what a lovely thing. What a thing that is. And I learned a lot about it in the Middle East because we used to move money. And I tell you what, I bet there's a lot of that going on here now in the UK.
Absolutely. Clivey.
You know.
Clive.
Well,
I'm going to send you another link.
Well,
Can
no,
you
going now, Craig? That's
quickly,
it. No,
oh,
mate,
because this is really important.
It's always important when it comes to you.
Look, no, but it is. You need to watch it. Put the video. It's only seconds. Go on the video of Margaret Ferrier. Go to number 740 and play from 740 and listen to what she says.
Craig, you're slowing the connection down back.
Sorry, bud. It's important. It's very important.
Look, we've gone over, man.
It tells you what's going on. They're forcing people to collect and pay.
That's about that.
Like many other members, my office has been inundated with child maintenance cases.
Go to 740.
Mentioned the Honourable Member for Edinburgh focused on avoidance by self-employed persons, non-resident parents, and
hang on, let's get it.
Detailed speech and used her personal experience as a single mum, and I think that we all agree with her that most parents are being let down by this system. And the Honourable Member for Strangford stated that it's clear that more cases go wrong than right, and also mentioned that CMS seem to be pursuing those who are paying and not pursuing those who pay nothing, which is a ludicrous situation. And the Honourable Member for Enfield Southgate stated that there must be justice and equity and ongoing maintenance for parents and give the redress that they need, and that it's a real area of concern, and he hopes that the Minister will focus on the issues.
When was that put on, Craig?
That was, I think it's 2017, that.
So 3 years ago, hang on now, 3 years ago, she's talking about the figure.
Yeah, go to 740. Go to 740, Clive. Skip to 740.
Who do you think you are, Baba? I'm not your bitch. That I don't. You know what I mean? You might have treated me like a bitch before, but I'm not. I haven't got the hair anymore.
Don't you two start. Oi, don't you two start.
He's a bitch now. He's got the hair.
Right, come on.
In this case was appalling. My office must have called about 20 times for an update and never received a call back until we escalated it to a senior level. 2 separate constituents have intimated that CMS have tried to push the collect and pay method when both parents have been happy with direct pay. Our advisors being instructed to do this in order for the department to make money from collection fees. Another constituent, John, came to me after receiving a letter about arrears in his account. The arrears were extortionate, as were the proposed monthly payments. Once I got involved, my office asked for a full breakdown of the account, as John disputed the arrears. We received the wrong information from CMS in a telephone call and were told the arrears were approximately £700. My caseworker called the constituent to tell him, and within 5 minutes of hanging the phone up, we received a further call from CMS with a correction that added thousands of pounds to the figure. Understandably, I was angered at this and asked for a full written breakdown. This took approximately 6 weeks to arrive. This case is still ongoing, moving at a glacial pace due to the child maintenance service. Does this sound like an efficiently run service? It is clear that the system is broken. I think the rise we are seeing in the number of cases is only the tip of the iceberg. And when my office and my constituents don't get the service issued, it is a major impact on everyone, especially the children. So please, the Minister simply must act to protect them and stop the suffering of my and other honourable members' constituents. Yes, yes.
So right, hang on now. Let's hold this one in at court, all right? So, 2017 now was Craigie Boy.
Yep.
I wrote something on Twitter today, and I'll see. Johnny Mercer, I hold you responsible for the death of an individual. And the more you ignore me, you know who I'm talking about, because it was probably mentioned in the Cabinet Office, all right? So if you don't talk to me, I'm just going to keep coming at you. And I do hold you responsible now, all right? So the death of that lady we had on the weekend, or by the police officer, I got emotional yesterday. You see the video I had yesterday. I had a lot of emotion going through me because I've avoided it. But I hold you responsible, Mercer. All right? So come and talk to me. Answer me. All right? I don't care. You send the police, knock on the door. I'm waiting. All right? But I tell you what, I hold MPs responsible. 2017, that lady stood up in 2017. What she said, and it hasn't changed. Gavin would still be your mate today. Do you know, and that's what really, really grips my shit. Because we got so much corruption going on. We got MPs who are taking hundreds of thousands and more. I don't know how Hancock can go to sleep. All right? Because he must have a lumpy bed with all the brown envelopes under there. I'm telling you now, something is not right. There's offshore accounts going everywhere, I guarantee you. But people, we should be allowed to hold them an account. John's just had £19,000 taken from his account. What? You couldn't? Can you imagine a company doing that straight away? And they are private companies, as me and all have said. But nothing's been done. Them women who've siphoned money off, they've learned it from somewhere. They've actually, as in the health and safety game, what we say is, if you don't lead as a leader, the people watch you and they follow and do what you do. So, whose fault is it them women siphoned off money? Not the women. It's the actual, where did they learn it from?
Be very interesting to see. Does it, when this money's been emptied from your bank, John, does it say where it's gone to?
Yeah, it does actually say some reference to child maintenance. Yeah. I don't think it gives the account number as such.
It'll be good
Have
for
to look it
them.
up now.
Have you gone to your bank? Have you gone to your bank and said to your bank that it's a fraudulent, that fraud has happened on your account, and I want that money to be reimbursed?
Yeah, when they make an interim order, it's a legal action, but I just don't know the ins and outs of how that instruction gets processed when you're actually giving them, like, you know, it goes beyond my worst fear, really. I knew they was trying to get the 19,000.
Well, it has to be a court order, John. It has to be a court order. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Even a DEO, is supposed to be a court order, but they keep fabricating documents, and we're going to bring on, Craig and myself say it's a lion that we're going to unleash on the British population.
Yeah.
We are going to unleash this lion because his knowledge of this is second to none. When you start talking about their forged documents that they are sending to, your employers, you know, how can you write to an employer and threaten that employer that if you do not take that amount of money, that they're going to take legal action against you, that they're going to carry out enforcement, you can get fines up to £10,000. Where's this £10,000 come from? COVID, £10,000 fine if you're walking around the park when you shouldn't be walking around the park. You know, and in case you bump into somebody, you get a £10,000 fine. I don't know where all this £10,000 has come from. The government seems to go through these phases of these numbers that they put out there, because what we've noticed recently with all of these fictitious arrears, that everybody has been loaded with 9 grand.
9,000.
9 grand. Everyone's been hit.
15,000s, 12,000s. Look at that.
But it goes in spates, doesn't it? There's like it goes in spates of amounts that they take.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they sit around the boardroom and they say, I'll tell you what, this for the next 3 months, we're going to give everybody 9 grand's worth of, you know, arrears. But because these arrears are not audited, this can go on for decades. And they can keep spouting off the same cow dung. It's just cow dung. They can keep spouting it off and keep saying, oh, we're collecting these arrears, we're collecting these arrears, we're collecting these arrears. But because those arrears aren't audited, this could go on for centuries.
Yeah.
It could potentially go on for centuries.
But hang on, no. What have they got to audit now? Because if they're destroying paperwork under the GDRP, what have they actually got to audit anymore?
But as we know now, the National Audit Office, they're getting thrown out. They can't audit.
No.
And that's what I'm saying. How is the British military being audited by a civilian organisation, but the National Audit Office can't audit government contracts? Why do you think that is?
Stinking of corruption, this. Government.
You know why? It's that. Stand and deliver. Money's coming out, but it's like that. Way, come on.
We need another glorious revolution.
Right, I tell you what, we're coming up to 1:20. It's been a long night. All right, could go on forever. John, absolutely amazing, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to do another one tomorrow, Craig, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We've got Mac coming on again. They've just given him 25 grand of arrears again. Poor guy suicidal. Fucking unbelievable, mate.
You know, Leif.
Yeah, Leif as well. That's 2 veterans. 2 veterans in 2 days that are suicidal because he's idiots.
So let's come on tomorrow. Anyway, that's what we shared tonight. All right. If you've got anything out there, come and connect with us. Let's get it on. John, let's have you on again. See where we are.
I'll give you an update.
All right. And definitely, I'm going to push this. And anybody out there, get it in your pocket. I'm going to put some money in as well. Put it in your pocket and get in there. All right. And let's do it.
I already have.
Yeah, I know. You're always the first on, aren't you? Okay. Anyway, on that note, everybody stay safe, stay well, look after yourselves. Don't forget, keep smiling. That's good night from me. Go on, Bully.
Buenas noches.
That's good night from me as well.
Adios.
Bit of a stretch off there.